Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Mezco 112 Collective Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Batman figure. This is also Spot's first 112 figure review, and I figured if anything I was going to review a Batman from the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice movie line. The front of the box has the Batman v Superman logo featured predominantly on the front, which has a really nice slight, I don't know what you would call it, like a granite background to it, like a concrete background. It looks very nice. Down below we have Batman and 112 Collective. I must say though, as you can probably see here, these are magnets for anything that you have in the room. So this little dust cover certainly serves a purpose. It does cover with dust very easily. By the way, the back of the box, there it is right there, the Batman v Superman. That's what the figure is going to look like, and it has several different poses. Also shows you the accessories featured down below. Then on the bottom side, we've got Mezco Toys, mezcotoys.com. It's recommended for ages 15 and up. It's not a toy for children, intended for adult collectors only. And then finally, you can slide this off, put the dust cover right there. And again, here's the main backdrop we were looking at before. But now you can flip it around and there is not a silhouette, mind you, but a somewhat black and white image there of the figure itself. By the way, if you were wondering, Spot picked this up from the folks over at Entertainment Earth. Could not find this guy for the life of me in my local stores, comic book stores and whatnot. So I wanted to get this guy ordered online, and ultimately I ordered it from Entertainment Earth. So I'll put the link down below if you guys are interested in picking this guy up for yourself. Spot's going to take a break though and get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Mezco Toys 112 Collective Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Batman. There's more anyway, guys. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so before we have a look at Batman, let's have a look at the display stand that comes with the figure. The display stand has a two-option way of displaying the figure. You have a clear peg right there. Actually, you know what, before we do that, let's have a look at the base itself, which is just a circular base, and it's got the Batman v Superman logo on the front. It's very simplistic, doesn't have Batman's name or anything on there, but it looks decent enough. You can take Batman's foot, and actually he's got two options there. He's got peg holes on the undersides of his feet. You can just simply attach the foot to the stand, and shy of just getting him posed and get him in something a little bit more dynamic, you can get him to stand on the display such as that. Or what you can also do too is take Batman off. I was actually surprised how well he stands without the stand. But you go ahead and just reach around to the back and you'll see that the clip is broader on the underside. Didn't know how to actually get it out because they don't give you instructions with the 112 Batman. But you take the underside portion of the stand and you just pop it through until you push the clip completely out. Then just remove it. And now you've got an open socket. Plug that into place. And now you've got the adjustable arm. The adjustable arm ratchets and hinges itself in three different places. 1 knuckle, 2, and 3. So you can bend that all the way back. You can bend this here, and you can bend it at the top. You can also then rotate this portion right here, slides in there, and you can rotate the waist clip all the way around, and you can adjust and open and close the clip, which basically would attach to his waist. Attaching it to his waist is okay, but I mean, his belt gets in the way when doing so. Just kind of clamp that around him. It's not to say that you want to have it that far up, mind you. But you can, you can angle Batman and looks a little bit better, I think, when you have him with a grapple gun. But nonetheless, you can get Batman to pose. The clip seems to hold Batman in place pretty decently enough, although you do have to kind of get it around his utility belt to really get a good clamp going. One of the other things that they included with Batman, and I'm not crazy about this to be honest. Once again, we just get Batman to stand here. Get Batman right there. They also included this, which is for adjusting his cape. You want to take this and clip it clip it to the top portion here. It's actually just like a little clamp bracket here, and that just fits right on top there, just like that. And the idea is that this is adjustable, and then you've got all these wire framed arms, and there's a little clamp on these. You get a total of 5 of them, and what you want to do is take these little, see these little open ports here? These just plug into place like so, and just line them up. Again, I don't personally like this, but you know, anybody who wants Batman a little bit more crazily displayed can go this route. But you get these. Now you think to yourself, Spotter, I have no idea where you're going with this. Well, what you have to do is you have to take Batman, clip him onto the display stand waist clip like so, and then let's see if I can bring the camera up here. The clips here you have to bend, and you can bend them, being that they're wire framed, they're very easy to bend. I mean, there was no criticism for that. But then you can take the cape. Let's see if I can actually do this here all on camera. You're going to bring the cape around, and the cape clips. I don't like this, but it clips into these little brackets here. The idea is it's supposed to hold, each one of these is supposed to hold a portion of the cape. But the whole time I'm doing it, I can't help but feel as if it's damaging the cape itself, because there's such a very fine, actually we want to turn this around, there we go. There's such a very fine feel to the cape that, to be honest, putting it in, I feel like I'm damaging it, because you have to pinch it in between those little clamps. Hopefully, let's bring the camera up so you can see. You have to clip the cape into those little brackets, and then when you've clipped them, you can then bend the cape into a pose. You know, if you want to have Batman flying, or I guess really you could have it just doing nothing right now, but there you go. You can bring it so that the little wire frame comes around, and you're essentially doing it with all of these individual clamps. I've just done it with a couple of the clips so you can see what I'm talking about. Now granted, once you clip these into place, you can very freely move them depending on how you want to have the cape pose. The wire frames do a good job of holding on to the cape, but ultimately it's an overall look that I don't personally like. I mean, I get that they wanted to go with something where you can showcase Batman and you can have the cape, you know, blowing and stuff like that, but there's just so much going on back here that to me it detracts from Batman. Even though you're really going to be seeing it only from the front portion of him, you got all this extra stuff going on in the back. So I like what they did with this, but I don't like it. I just don't like it because there's just so much stuff. The effect looks good, but it's until you start turning it to the side that it just seems a little too much for my liking. Just for some last looks on that clip, by the way, I just want to show you how everything comes together. Again, I didn't do the greatest of jobs of lining these up and really having it in a flowing fashion, but you can see how these clips just clamp onto what I feel is a fairly thin cape to start off with. When you start incorporating clamps that are pulling and tugging on this, I worry that over time that it may damage the cape, so all the more reason I might just leave them off. Now before we have a look at the rest of the accessories, why don't we actually look at the Batman figure and see how well he turned out. I do have to admit, I think he turned out quite nicely. The cape, as good as the function of having it, you know, dynamic, having so much excess cape can also be a little more of a hindrance to this figure as well. He just has so much cape going on. In fact, actually getting him out of packaging, that's the first thing I thought. I just looked at him like, that's a lot of cape. In fact, this is how much cape you can get with the 1/12 Collective Batman. Again, do you need that much cape? If you don't use it as clips, what they should have actually done was had a removable like cowl neck piece, and it actually included 2 sets of capes. One set of cape for the clips, one cape that you could just swap out if you want to have Batman just displayed. Displaying him on the display stand, no matter what I do, there's just so much extra cape. I feel like that is the hashtag of this review. Too much cape. You can fold it kind of behind and tuck it underneath the neck section of his cowl, which keeps a pretty good check of everything, but it just is a lot of excess cape to have to work with. Let's have a look at his head. The head sculpt is quite good. I think Mezco has done a great job on Batman, really capturing the likeness here of Ben Affleck wearing the Batman banner, the Batman cowl, so to speak, taking up the mantle from Christian Bale, who had previously portrayed the Caped Crusader. The head sculpt, though, is quite good. As well, the outfit, I would say, is also very good as well. The body is maybe of one topic of debate. I did get the figure out of packaging. 2 things came to my mind when I got the figure out. One of which, he seems maybe a little short, a little stumpy, and he seems very... What's the delicate way of working around this? He seems very accented in the groin portion. It's only by virtue of the way that the figure comes together, keeping in mind that he's also got a fabric outfit over top of him, which is something that the 1/12 figures have. But by just the way he's been put together, he's kind of got a David Bowie thing going on there from Labyrinth. The pattern on his outfit is nice. I like the bat emblem, how the emblem actually is what appears to be like a rubber appliance that's gone over top of the fabric outfit. All comes together quite nicely. But I just can't stop looking at Batman's groin. Just try not to look at it, if you will. One of the other things that Batman does have, if you don't prefer this head sculpt, is he does have an interchangeable head. Now, the interchangeable head has a more expressioned Batman with an open mouth, partially open mouth. You can see his teeth. His eyes are roughly reading about the same, but his mouth is drastically different. Go ahead and just pop the head very easily off of a ball joint. One of the easiest ball joints I've ever taken off of a figure. And then revisiting the head. I'm not really sure which one I prefer the most. Let's see if we can get a close-up look there. There's the new Batman head. There's the old Batman head. I guess, you know what, now that I look at the two, I think that this head sculpt right here is a superior head sculpt. The mouth looks he looks a little silly, I suppose, with his mouth looking like this, where a closed mouth fits, I think, Batman's profile a little bit better. But it's entirely up to you which head you would like to go with. I think for this, let's just pop the head back off and revisit the head appliance. There we go. So yes, the things I do like about the figure, the material of the cape is another one I do like. It has a simulated almost like a rubber. It's a very similar cape, at least from a figure standpoint, to the Michael Keaton type of cape. But it's just really long. I know I sound like a broken record by saying that, but it's just really, really long. The coloring also is nice in his suit. The accented gold are nice touches in the knuckle portion of his fists, as well as the side-bladed gauntlets. The utility belt also adorned in gold. It is a fairly loose piece. It does flop around a little bit, but understanding the way that the articulation would work on this figure, it makes sense that this would have to be a loose appliance. And then we've got these sculpted boots down below with a real level of posability to these. We'll look at the posability in a second, but let's have a look at some of Batman's accessories. This Batman comes with a ton of different accessories. Let's first start with looking at his hands. Batman's defaulted hands are a pair of closed fists, but then he also has an open hand, like a grabbing hand. He's got hands suited for holding things such as his batarangs, his grapple guns, And this one I think is probably more suited for holding the batarangs. He comes with a total of 4 of those, but it doesn't stop right there. As you probably saw right there, he does also come with a pair of hands that are already holding batarangs. Here's a close-up look at the hand holding one of the batarangs. He does also come with batarangs. He comes with a total of 3 extra batarangs. Don't really understand why he needs to come with loose batarangs and then batarangs that are intended for his hands, like ones that are already pre-molded into his hands. We've looked at figures like this before, one of which comes to mind is the DC Collectibles Batman, the animated series. Batman came with a grapple gun. The grapple gun held in his hand as a molded piece, but then there was a separate grapple gun. If you were ever to display Batman with the batarangs, logically speaking, Batman would be holding the batarangs. I don't see why he would then need separate batarangs that would just ultimately end up being in his hands anyways for displaying the figure. But needless to say, you get a pair of these holding batarangs in check. As I mentioned though, he does come with 3 extra loose batarangs. The batarangs are nicely detailed and painted in a very nice silver. But again, like, why you would need a batarang, let's say for example, let's take one of his loose hands. Other than the fact that you're holding the batarang differently, and even then it doesn't sit in his hand the greatest, if he holds the batarang like this, or if he holds the batarang like this, I don't really see much of a difference really why the batarangs had to be a loose appliance rather than just not simply giving us the Batman with the batarangs already in his hand. Unless you just want to pose them a little bit differently to one another. I just don't personally get why they had to have 3 loose batarangs. Just my own honest opinion. But he does come with 3 of those. Batman also comes with a super cool Bat grapple gun, which, like with other releases of the grapple gun, he does have separate accessories that can be added to it. One of which being a closed-off grapple hook. Clearly going to be a losable piece. He does also have that same hook that is extended out, ready to be deployed. And he also has a grapple hook that's attached to a string. I would not entertain the idea of, first of all, it plugs right into that same hole, but I would not entertain the idea, I don't think, of really suspending Batman from the cord that comes included with this hook. First of all, the plug doesn't sit the greatest in the hole of the grapple gun, and I don't feel like the string will be strong enough to actually hold this figure up. So he does come with that as well. Included as well, he gets himself a bat grenade, or just gas grenade. And he comes with his rather vicious bat branding tool. I suppose they could have had this as like a red paint, indicating that it is hot. But, you know, as an alternative, it's not all that bad. Finding the proper hand, though, usually I gravitate towards this hand right here. And you can, it seems to fairly easily snap into his hand, like so. And you kind of have to wedge it in between the fingers. Now, these fingers are rubbery. Actually, this is the wrong hand. Spots grabbed the wrong hand. It's actually, yeah, this one right here. This can just plug right into place. And then the branding part of it fits actually in between his fingers. It's neat that they would come included with this. I would probably never display Batman holding the bat branding tool, but nonetheless, it's a nice appliance to come included with Batman. Now, when it comes to Batman's articulation, this is where he really excels. Batman's head is on a ball joint. It appears only to be one singular ball joint, unless it's possible that you might have a secondary ball joint at the base of the neck, giving that additional motion, because the head does rotate quite high and fairly low, as well as the full rotation all the way around. The arms hinge out, don't seem to be hindered at all by the fact that he's got the fabric in his outfit. A forward and back motion. Now this is where when you're moving the arm forward, you're going to start feeling a little bit of tight restriction here. because the fabric is kind of pulling down on the shoulder portion of his arm. Batman's bicep does rotate. He has a hinge in the elbow, and he has a rotation and hinge in the hands. When it comes to his torso does have a crunch, a swivel back and forth, being mindful that you're not accidentally tugging on the fabric. That's the last thing you want to do. The legs go forward and back. This is probably one of the areas where when you start moving it is where Batman starts feeling a little on that short side I was talking about before. It seems like the ball joint is actually right here, but like the bottom portion of his torso stops there. It's lower down than I feel where the leg should, or at least Batman's should be. So moving his leg forward and back, it seems like it sits too low on his torso. The legs do hinge out. It gets a little sloppy, unfortunately, when you do move the legs in any way, which way like this, because it does draw a lot of attention to the fact that he's got all this excess fabric here. He does have a bend at the knee, a double hinge knee, I might add. He has a swivel, by the way, on the top portion of his thigh, and he does have a considerable motion and movement up and down, all the way around, and a pivot also in his ankle. The figure has good intentions. I think Mezco did a good job on Batman. It's kind of an interesting market that Mezco is getting into. Being that we're getting smaller figures, the figures read very much like a higher end 6-scale figure like a Hot Toys, but it seems like it's not quite there. The face sculpt is good, the accessories are also quite good, but there's still little aspects to it that I'm not crazy about. One of the which being the very long cape. I know I mentioned that already. The cape is a little on the too long of a side. Sometimes tucking it behind the shoulder portion can kind of do a good job of keeping everything in check. I think the problem is, and it's not necessarily to the figure itself, but because the figure is a scale sized that it is, I immediately look at it as an action figure, and it's a higher end collectible and a more cost-effective, cost-means-effective way of picking up a figure. Instead of getting like a Hot Toys or Sideshow Collectibles or 3-0 figure that's a 12-inch figure, Mezco basically has now created its own market by creating smaller versions of that. I don't feel like Batman's there yet, but it is actually a good figure. I would recommend it to somebody that wants to get a premium collectible, like a high-end collectible, just maybe with a smaller scale and a more affordable price tag. These are much more affordable, really, when you look at the scale end of it, to a higher-end collectible like a Hot Toys. It does have everything that a Hot Toys figure would have. I just don't feel like on a quality level it's as good, but I can see that Mezco has big potential for a big market that they're now cornering. Again, I picked this up from Entertainment Earth. As a fan of the Batman movie and Batman v Superman, I like the costume. So I think I'm going to put this guy on display and I'm going to enjoy the figure. I'm still a little iffy when it comes to the 112 collecting collective that Mezco has created. But I think so far from what I've seen of the figure lines, while I'm not really crazy about like some of the Marvel figures, the comic related figures, some of the movie figures have turned out seemingly good so far. Granted, this is only my first, but I can't see it really honestly being my last. Today's collectible spot, one other thing we need to touch base on before we wrap up this video, because I know somebody's going to ask me about it. The 112 collecting collective figures also come with a Ziploc bag. So like all those figure accessories that we looked at just prior, the whole argument of these being lost, at least you can put them in your little Ziploc baggie. That can also hold the clip as well for the waist, for the display base. The only thing it doesn't hold is the display base itself. I think the display base is a little too big for it, but it also comes with that as well. Just in case you're wondering, if you had picked up this figure and you thought Spot lost this bag, it did come with this bag as well. At any rate, Spot did pick this up from Entertainment Earth. If you want to grab this guy for yourself, you can head over there. I'll put the link down below. Today's collectible spot, though, we were looking at the Mezco 112 Collective. This is the Batman v Superman Batman figure. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.